going straight?
I think so. Okay. Let me take the jacket off.
Gotta get my radio voice ready.
We're leaving Big Bend.
We are.
Not bad.
Not Bend.
Not Big Bend.
With the
Big Bend curve.
We got here and we stayed at
Rio Grande Village.
RV Park.
Right, not the actual national park.
Yeah, not the campground. We stayed in the place that had the full hookups. There's pros and cons
Sure.
to that, to doing that. So
For sure.
pros are
Well, you had full hookup.
we had full hookups.
Yeah. So that was nice to know that we had electricity, had water, again, full hookups, sewer.
Yeah.
Another pro was the little store there had
That was right
Wi-Fi,
next to it.
had
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So that was kind of handy to have, even in our spot, because the people at the store were saying, no way you'll get Wi-Fi from your camper. Untrue.
But you could.
But you could.
Yeah.
And I would say the one thing I wish I had was a Wi-Fi extender, because we
Just
got
would have made the
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi better.
It would have just made my Wi-Fi more convenient instead of sitting beside the window, like putting my phone and laptop.
Right.
I could have just been in bed,
Yes.
and that would have been better.
Yeah.
The store had gas. It had both unleaded and diesel.
Yeah. And typically, those places, it's so expensive, the
Yeah.
gases. But it was
Reasonable.
like reasonably priced, right?
Yeah. I mean, considering that you're out in the middle of nowhere, Big Bend.
Yeah.
You
There's no place else to get gas for.
Yeah, you kind of
really
expect it
long
to be
time.
like $10 a gallon, but it was reasonably priced, and so I didn't feel too bad. Small little store, had all the basic.
Yeah. Bread,
Necessities.
milk.
Yeah.
It did have laundry, so if you needed to do laundry, you
Had
could do-
laundry,
you could do
and then
laundry.
also too, I think it had showers, because I'm pretty sure I saw people walking to the shower.
Okay.
There's a little picnic area right outside that a lot of people would just pull up and literally just hang out to get on Wi-Fi. No cellular, no
Yeah,
LTE, no,
Definitely no.
not there at
Cell
least.
service.
So I would say at
In
Rio
different
Grande
parts of the
Valley
park, there
Village, right.
is, but yeah, but not where we were.
Yeah, Rio Grande Village, nothing. No cellular. If you need to make a call, you're out of luck. Smoke signal,
Yes.
best thing you got. Throughout the park, varying degrees of 3G, which was good enough,
Right.
and allowed us, again, to make cell phone calls if we needed to, get
Yeah.
text messages.
Keegan.
Hey, Keegan,
Keegan.
can you not sing? Thanks.
It sounds great, but
We're doing the thing.
we're trying to talk.
You know what the, you know what the, you know
I get it. Yeesh.
Okay, anyway, we're talking about Rio Grande Village RV Park. We were able to like run our heater
yeah, that was a big pro.
because it got cold that night.
When it got super windy.
Yeah. And like in the mornings it was so cold. So just being able to have the option to have heat was,
Let me say it
was
this.
nice.
Heat by not burning my propane.
Right. We used our electric heater, which I would highly recommend to anyone if you have a camper, is to get just a little electric heater that you can plug in so you don't have to use your propane, because it like heats the camper up pretty quickly. And yeah, and you don't have to use your propane. Now the cons,
A con, you're in an RV park.
yeah, you're so close to your neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, you,
Pretty much right next to them.
you could
You
hear
can
everything.
hear everything. Yeah. So
Some things you didn't want to hear.
pretty much
Yeah.
every place that you stay has quiet hours, and this place had quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And they were not being considerate of the quiet hours.
Not at all.
And you're really just in a parking lot.
Yeah, it's
And even
close
though, like, there's scenery, you know, really all around you, it's not like a regular camping, like a site, like a regular site.
Oh no, there was no trees in between us.
You don't have kind of privacy or like your own space where you feel like you're on your own or,
Right.
so it's just a little bit different. So there's give and take with those types of places to stay. Right next to where we were was the Rio Grande Village Campground, which is part of the national park.
Right.
And it had no hookups at all. There was a part of it where you could run a generator, so they have certain hours for the generator, but then there was another, like basically the other side of it, where you could not run a generator at all.
Some of those spots were pretty straightforward, normal, what I would consider normal. You know, you get back in, pull through, everything looked good. Again, lack of any type of hookup. But then there were some that were just like, I wouldn't want to be in that spot at all because it was so narrow and tight, and you really needed to be considerate of how long a rig you had.
Yeah.
We saw a huge RV in there.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible.
Yeah, there was definitely like big enough spots where you could get a big rig in there, but there was also very small,
Really
spots,
small spots
where you could just have a tent.
Right.
So
People in cars and pop-up tents.
Yeah.
I mean,
that campground definitely had the most variety of sites.
it did.
We went on the Boquillas Canyon Trail.
Boquillas, however you say that.
Yeah.
Small little town in Mexico that you can actually do a border crossing, but they've got a nice little trail. It wasn't too long. It goes down to the Rio and into a canyon. It wasn't difficult, so.
Yeah, and that trail has the sand slide, so you can kind of climb up a dune and slide down a sand slide, which
I mean, if you're accustomed to the great sand dunes or even Moynihan's,
sure.
or anywhere where there's a little bit more pristine sand, that is going to be not what you expect.
Sure, but still, like this one back here, she
Loved
liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just loved the challenge of climbing up there, sliding down.
Right.
So all good. But apparently, according to your parents, who came here 40 years ago,
It's much less of a dune
yeah,
as it once was.
less sandy, less dune-y.
Yeah.
We did not go to Boquillas,
No, we did not.
though we saw
They do have like a crossing. They have a border.
port of entry.
Yeah, port of entry there. So you can do that if that's something that you want to do. The nature trail that's in the Rio Grande Village Campground.
Mhm.
Really good for birding,
Yes.
apparently. And it's just a small loop, short. And you can go up to an overlook and you kind of get a look at the Rio Grande.
There's also on that trail, again, because of the proximity to Boquillas, you can also see Boquillas from a different
the
angle.
canyon, yeah.
Not only the canyon, but the city.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We did the Hot Springs Trail, which was kind of a sketchy road to get down.
Yeah, it's very narrow,
Right.
dirt road. So
Yeah.
you have to be really careful, like going to and from the hot springs.
Got down to the trail, saw the ruins down there. Ruins
Yeah.
being like the old hotel.
Yeah, they had like an old motel that was there.
Little store that was there.
That
But-
was history. So we saw that, and then they actually have a hot springs that you can actually get into
Yeah.
and soak in and whatnot.
It's like 105 degrees year round.
Yeah.
So
So you can do that.
we did not get into that
No.
because there was a
There's a
ton.
lot of people.
Yeah, there's probably 10 to 15 people
Yeah.
in the spring itself. And I was just like, no, thank you.
That's a loop trail, and it actually goes by the hot springs, and then you actually go up, and you can actually, as you're coming back on the other end of the loop, you're above the hot springs, so you can actually see them from above. So that was a good trail.
Went down to, was it Dugout Wells?
We had lunch there, and we did the desert trail.
Right. So Dugout Wells was a small little homestead at one point, a place where they found water. They still have water there today. There's a windmill that pumps the water out. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a nice little place just to chill and
park, like centrally located.
Is
so
it the
it's,
more
so it's
popular?
really popular.
Because it's also in the mountains.
Yeah.
I mean,
It still doesn't have any hookups, but
that's true.
yeah, you have to be small to get in there. I think they said
There's a length limit.
20 foot.
20 to 24 was the limit.
Well, it was a 24-foot like RV if you're driving, and 20 foot if you're pulling something, because there's these really sharp turns that you have to get around when you're going up the road, and you just can't.
Yeah, there was
Like you just can't make it. That campground just seemed more like
backpacker.
a tent camping place, or
Maybe
like
pop
a
up.
really small. Like we saw some teardrop campers, and just really small ones that would be good for that. We hiked the Window Trail, which was great. There's two options for starting the Window Trail. You can either start it at the Basin Trailhead, which is by the visitor center lodge area, or you can go to the campground, the Chisos Basin campground, and start at the campground, and it actually makes the trail a little bit shorter if you start at the campground. So that's what we did. You can park at the amphitheater in that campground. So we parked there, walked down to the trailhead, and we did that trail. And that trail was 4.4 miles. There was just so much variety in the trail, and so it just didn't feel like it was. I mean, it felt long, but it didn't feel like it. You were just like, oh, I'm never gonna get there, or whatever.
The window is in a canyon, and so the entire time you're in a canyon walking, you never see the window till you get to the very end.
Right.
And at the same time, you're going up the mountain, you're going down the mountain, around it. You're getting to experience a little bit more of the environment.
Yeah. And it's up in the mountain.
Yeah. It's
So,
in the Chisos Mountain Basin.
And it's in mountain lion and bear country. And there was a lot more animal activity. We didn't actually see any animals while we were there, but we saw a lot of scat. And so we knew that there were animals somewhere because we saw evidence that they had been there.
I would say the last 500 yards is climbing.
Yes.
You're going through, you're climbing up the rock, you're doing, some cool things. There's a little waterfall thing there to where ultimately get to the window. We were leaving. They were regulating, they being the park ranger, were regulating how many people were actually going into Chisos Basin.
Yeah, we think that's what they were doing. That's what it looked like they were doing.
I mean, every time a car came, they would let a car go up.
Yeah, because there's only so much parking up there. There's a couple of trails that you can do up there. The Lost Mine Trail is up there, I think. Is that what it
Emory
is?
Peak is up there.
Emory Peak, yeah. So, but there's only so many parking spots and so many places that you can park on a mountain. So they have, So it looked like that's exactly what they were doing. They were regulating how many people went up the road.
So heads up, if you wait too long in the afternoon, you might have to wait in line.
They have a fossil exhibit, fossil discovery exhibit, something like that. I think that's what it was called. It's really interesting. No trails or anything. You just walk through and look at it.
You didn't see any fossils, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean, they had
They had some.
the ones that were on display, but not
Yeah.
like if you're accustomed to going to was it Dinosaur National? What is it called?
Oh yeah,
In Utah.
Dinosaur National Monument.
If you're used to that, to where you go and you see
Or like Waco Mammoth National Monument.
places where you can actually see the fossils still in the
They're
ground.
still on the ground, yeah.
That's
This was not
good.
like that.
No, it was just more of a, hey, they found fossils here, and here's
Yeah,
kind of
just
a-
like information. That's another good place to have lunch though, because they had like a cute little picnic area and like some kid things. The balanced
Grapevine
rock.
Hills.
Yeah, Grapevine Hills.
That road is super sketchy, but they've improved it. So I would
To
say,
a point.
I would say it's a 6 mile road,
Yeah.
and I would say probably the first maybe 2, maybe 3 miles are improved, which basically means you can do 25 miles an hour down and not feel too bad. But then at some point it just becomes unimproved, which is very just rough hard road. Gosh, we were just sloshed around left and right. Yeah, just constantly being thrown around the truck.
Let me reenact it for you. That is it like that.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're just like, I don't want to be on this road anymore.
The road there, even though it's rough and not the best, the trail was worth it because it was a really good trail.
Balanced Rock or Grapevine Hills Trail. I don't know what they call it.
Grapevine Hills.
But I mean, when we got to the thing, it's in Balanced Rock this way.
Yeah.
So anyway, the
And
trail.
the trail is really flat. It's just the last quarter mile is you're climbing up.
The mountain.
Yeah, to go to the Balanced Rock.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, the road, horrible to get there, horrible to get out of there, but the trail was totally worth it.
No hookups as well, and no generator. Like, you can't use a generator all in that one either. And we didn't get a chance to actually go in there, but just by the details, it sounds like it's really just a tent, just for tents.
There's a pretty big fire that happened and kind of took out a lot of that Cottonwood Campground, so we just kind of stayed away from it.
We did the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive, because that's on the way to the Chimneys Trail. The chimneys were really cool.
Right.
There's good, like, if you like climbing, like if you think that that's fun,
it was alright.
Then, you know, there's really good places to climb there, climbing up the rocks and stuff like that. The trail
was kind of boring.
Was really boring. Yeah, because you can see, so you park in like a little pull off on the side of the road, and you can see the chimneys from there.
What was the total round trip of the Chimneys?
Like, I think it's 4.8 miles. Yeah. So
2.4 miles.
Yeah, you can
see the chimneys.
Where the chimneys are, and you're just walking towards the chimneys on the trail, and it's flat, and you can see, like, there's things around you, but they're pretty far away.
You're basically in a big flat field.
Yeah, you just feel like you're just walking and walking and walking.
2.4 miles.
Yeah. And when you get to the chimneys, it's cool, but then you have to walk back.
Through the same.
Yes.
Nothing.
And it's just, like, you can kind of see your car in the distance, but not really.
Yeah, every time sometimes you would turn a curve and you'd be like, oh, there's our car. And then you get around the curve, you're like, our car's gone.
Yeah.
All hope is lost.
Yes.
And we went to Santa Elena. I mean, that was beautiful. I mean, I thought
it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
The canyon was absolutely amazing. So, and the trail, like, there's a couple of things about the trail. So, when you first get on the trail, it's a boardwalk, and it goes straight to the river.
And you think, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
There's a boardwalk.
Yeah, and you can just stop there if you want to, because you can see in the canyon from
the river.
From the river, yeah, from the side of the river. But you can't see all the way back in there, because there's a point where it's like the narrowest part of the river.
That's right.
So if you want to see that, you have to continue on the trail. And if you want to do that, you have to cross over the river, and then you have to go up and kind of walk along the side of the canyon to get back in there. So you're kind of going up, and then you have to go back down. It was, I think, completely worth it, because it was so pretty. But
getting there was tricky.
It was definitely not an easy hike. It was not just the boardwalk hike, for sure.
Well, I mean, you literally just kind of have to forge your way up this mountain. And this trail is super sketchy. There were definitely times where it was like, you just needed to get your footing and get through it.
Yeah.
But,
and I would say, too, that we went in the afternoon, and I think that trail, like the canyon itself, would have been even more beautiful in the morning because of the sun and just all of that. And they say it's a really beautiful sunrise spot. So if you can get there for the sunrise, then it's supposed to be incredible.
Right.
Another thing that I would recommend to anybody who's going to any national park, if you have kids, is to ask them if they have a junior ranger program, because that is our daughter always asks if they have one, and it's usually a book that they give you, and there's different activities that the kids can do in them, and depending on their age, they have to do so many activities, and when they're finished with it, they actually get a badge or a patch, and they get to be a junior ranger, so they earn something. And for some of the places in the park, like, they have specific activities for you to do, and like for our daughter, like, she may not necessarily like some of the places that we go that are like maybe less kid friendly, but because there's something for her to do, like some sort of activity in the book, then she enjoys it even more. The national park junior ranger programs are excellent, so it was definitely like a great trip, definitely a good park, and I would recommend it.
Would you do it again? That's the question.
Well, I feel like, there might have been like one or two things that we didn't do.
What did we not do?
But I feel like I got my fill of Big Bend.
We'll talk about what we didn't do.
Well, we didn't do like Emery Peak. We didn't go to that's the highest point. We did not go there.
Wasn't that like a 12, 13, 14 mile hike round trip? It was something.
Yes, and it was strenuous.
It was the highest peak.
Yeah. We also did not go on the Mule Ears Trail.
Mule Ears, because
which is supposed to be another
iconic.
Yeah, like
thing.
a good trail. And we did not do the Lost Mine Trail, which is supposed to be another really good trail.
Would you go back to Big Bend
I think I would go back, but I don't want to go back like
tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to come back anytime soon.
If you've never been here, you should definitely come to this national park. Come to Big Bend.
I'm glad we came.
So,
I'm glad we experienced it when we experienced it. That's all.
Yeah. Good trip.